The shocking news spread quickly. A helicopter crash in the hills of Los Angeles County killed 9 people, including one of the legends of basketball, Kobe Bryant. It was reportedly Bryant's own private helicopter, and that one of those killed was his daughter, Gianna, a budding basketball player herself. Bryant was married and father of 4 daughters.
There were no survivors. We have a manifest that indicates that there was 9 people on board the aircraft. The pilot plus 8 individuals.
I don't know. I just don't have a lot to say. The news is just devastating to everybody who knew him, known him a long time. And, he means a lot to me, obviously. He was such a great opponent, It's what you want in sports. He had that DNA that very few athletes can ever have, the Tiger Woods and the Michael Jordans, It's funny, I was getting to know him more since he retired, this is a tough one. I don't, we have to go play. The news is just so devastating for Vanessa and his family, and there's just so many people he touched, it's looking at my young players and seeing how emotional they are. They didn't even know him, and it just tells you how far his reach was. So, this is just shocking news for all of us.
Tributes have been pouring in. We've, of course, been monitoring social media. Oh, I'm told it's Assad. Let's go ahead and listen to that reaction now from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
It's very difficult for me to put in words how I feel about the loss of Kobe Bryant. As a young boy, I met him when he was 11 or 12 years old. I was friends with his dad, Joe. We were former adversaries. Joe played for the 76ers, but he was a good friend and someone that I shared a friendship. And it's hard for me to understand now how this is affecting Joe and his wife. So to Kobe's family, I want to send my most sincere and heartfelt regrets and prayers, and my thoughts are with you guys. Kobe was an incredible family man. He loved his wife and daughters. He was an incredible athlete and a leader in a lot of ways. He inspired a whole generation of young athletes. He was one of the first ones to leave high school and come into the NBA and do so well, dominating the game and becoming one of the best scorers that the Los Angeles Lakers has ever seen. I had the privilege of being there when he scored his 81-point game, and it was something that I will always remember as one of the highlights of the things that I have learned and observed in sports. Kobe, my thoughts are with you. Absolutely. Rest in peace, young man. And this loss it's just hard to comprehend. Go with God.
Bryant's first game, his last game.
Wow.
I was actually there for every championship he won. I was there for the 2 gold medals he won. I was actually there the night he won an Oscar. This was someone who had unbelievable accomplishments. I was even in Eagle, Colorado, probably the low point for Kobe Bryant's public career, when he had that charge of rape for a while that was eventually settled out of court. So I've covered this man from when he was drafted as a high schooler to now and his death here. And it was just a remarkable life where this was a man who I felt always gave it his all. And that's why sometimes you didn't get along with other players. You mentioned Scottie Pippen. I remember one Game 7 that the Lakers played against the Portland Trailblazers when Pippen was with the Trailblazers. And Kobe Bryant put the stake in the heart of Scottie Pippen in that Game 7 where the Lakers came back. And I remember Scottie Pippen in one of the games just pounding his fists on the towels that were going to be used for the players to clean up. He was just so distraught at some of the pain that Kobe Bryant and the Lakers instilled in him. So this is just, I'm trying to recall a player of such stature dying at such a young age. We've had great players. Thurman Munson died. I remember the Yankee player, Roberto Clemente, one of the greats ever. But Kobe Bryant was someone who some people thought may have been the greatest player ever. I don't think you've had anyone at this high stature. Maybe there's some European soccer players who have died at this young an age. And just the impact. This is one of those things, if you're a sports fan or even not a sports fan, you knew who Kobe Bryant was. This is one of those you'll say, I remember where I was when I heard that Kobe Bryant had died.
A true global ambassador for the sport of basketball.
At the Toronto Raptors game in San Antonio today, there was an immediate tribute to Bryant. Kobe Bryant was one of the greatest scorers in the game. He was third all-time until just yesterday, when LeBron James passed his 33,643 points. LeBron acknowledged Kobe, his fellow LA Lakers legend, with written notes on his shoes yesterday, because Kobe, like LeBron, was one of the few players to make the leap from high school to the NBA and go on to an historic career.
Thought he was going to be absolutely fantastic.
Tributes have poured in for one of basketball's greats. Former President Barack Obama wrote, Kobe was a legend on the court and just getting started in what would have been just as meaningful a second act. To lose Gianna is even more heartbreaking to us as parents.
I appreciate you being here with us today, my friend, because I know this is a tough day for all of us, but especially for you because you were the one that discovered Kobe.
Well, Jim, I really didn't discover Kobe, okay? He was a great young high school player in that time. It wasn't in vogue to draft players like that. And as I say, it was part of the process of getting here. His agent, Norm Tellem, and myself were able to, working through the draft till he became a Laker. And those were very exciting moments for us to get a young, charismatic kid like him, but more importantly, a very unique talent. And it was start of a long, I don't say process, but start of a long friendship and working relationship. And to hear this news this morning, frankly, at first I was shocked. And then after a while, it really sunk in. And, to see the transformation of him from a 17-year-old kid who used to spend time at my house with me, to my son Ryan driving him around because he couldn't drive. He couldn't even sign a contract because he was too young. To him, the constant questions about the NBA, wanting me to go to a gym with him to watch him work out and maybe make suggestions to him. It was more than, I really felt like a surrogate father to him. And then as his career blossomed and, he started to establish this enormous reputation as a player and also filled with accomplishments. But his charisma on top of it was something that most great players don't have, and he had it. But to wake up to this news, this has been one of the most horrible days of my life. I felt like I've lost a son, and frankly, not doing very well.
Yeah, Jerry, I know there's only a few people that have had a really intimate relationship with Kobe, and you are one of them because you were with him there through the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
Well, Jim, it wasn't all rosy. It never is, and particularly for someone like him who was so anxious for success. I remember there's one personal thing I remember. I said to him after a game where he played, I said, "Man, you look a little tired tonight." And he said to me, "I just proposed to my wife, to hopefully my new wife." And I'll never forget that moment. It was in the locker room right after a game. And, to see him get married, have children, and change a career so drastically to where he was making a difference in his world, not as an athlete, but as a very bright person. His interest in women in terms of his basketball academy, the pride that he took into those things, and to see that all taken, and his family, my God, there's going to have to be some really strong people out there supporting them, because this is the worst news you could ever get.
I know it's difficult, Jerry. And you knew him better than anyone. And the other thing is, he came to you for advice, not only about basketball, but just about growing and maturing into a young man responsible to his family and to the community as well, didn't he?
Well, Jim, as I say, I don't want to go around saying that I was responsible for his life, period. I don't, because that would be grossly unfair. But the thing that I will share with you is how, to me, the things I saw him, the maturity that I saw him grow into. I saw him grow up. I saw him deal with, press that was negative at times, because he played the game with a flair. And anytime you play the game with a flair, you're susceptible to making mistakes. But I was his biggest supporter. But also, I had some very serious talks with him about how he needs to change his game a little bit to be able to accommodate himself with his other teammates. But I think the thing that brought me great joy was to watch him with his wife and his kids. It was truly inspiring for me to see this. He lived in a world of testosterone, okay, as all athletes do. And for him to be able to separate the athletic accomplishments with his personal accomplishments and the things that he was doing to have a successful career. This was a brilliant kid. This wasn't some athlete who just happened to be a great basketball player. He was more than that. And Jim, this was hype with the fans. He still does. He's bigger than life. And Kobe's legacy, that it will remain forever. His impact will remain forever. And, but my God, I just feel so horrible for his family. Oh my goodness.
And for as great a basketball player as he was, Jerry, and I've said many times, and I've heard you say it too, he was a better family man, a husband and father. Man, he loved those ladies in his home.
Well, as I say, all you had to do was see him with them. That's all you had to do. And I once kidded him one time after he had a couple of girls, and again, I'm not someone who goes around and communicates with players, ex-players. Okay, I don't think that's my position in this world. I just know the admiration that I have for the players that have really achieved something special, but sometimes the ones who haven't. But with him, as I say, he had a little extra gold dust sprinkled on him, and I was kidding him. I said, "You're not a man." I said, "You have all these women in your life." And of course he laughed at it. But to think that I won't see him, to think his family won't see him, people who loved him, people who admired him, just god awful.
He was a gift, wasn't he, Jerry?
Jim, he was definitely a gift. Yes, he was. And as I say, you never know when a kid is born what it's going to be. And even though he was a son of a basketball player, it's hard to imagine his excellence, people call it Mamba mentality. I don't. He was just born with an incredible desire to win. It had nothing with his mentality. He just wanted to win at all costs, and he would win at all costs. He laid his life on the line every night when it came to winning. Losing was not in his vocabulary, and with a lot of great players, but he just had this persona that very few have, a lot desire, and a lot will never have, even though they've had great careers.
Jerry, would you say he was one of the most singularly focused athletes you've ever been around?
Yes, Jim, and I think in today's day and age, and particularly with the more social media that we have today, it gets talked about so much, okay? But there's other players that's had that same focus, and I think because he talked about it, because people wanted to know what drove him, and he talked about it a lot more. But there's a lot of players that have it, but they don't have that persona. They just don't have it. And God, that will be missed in this city. Oh my goodness. For me, as I say, I started off in disbelief, and now I'm in another place. It's not a good place.
He was also, Jerry, one of the few individuals that we know that when he walked across the street, he really did stop traffic, didn't he?
Jimmy, again, as I said before, there's certain people that have that. And Magic Johnson, same way. And the people in Los Angeles have been blessed to see some incredibly gifted players. And he was homegrown. Earvin Johnson was homegrown. And they mean so much to this city, so much to their communities, so much to the young kids out there looking for something positive in their lives. And as I say, this is just really hard for me to believe. I just want to go to bed and think that this is a nightmare.
Jerry, when he retired, he was ready. I mean, there are a lot of guys who are forced into retirement. There are some guys who kind of adjust to retirement, but he was ready for retirement. It was almost as though everything you told him and taught him came to fruition, because when he said Mamba out, he was ready to go.
Well, Jimmy, it's not what I taught him. Your body teaches you this. It's your body. It's not... Your body talks to you all the time when you're an athlete, okay? People see athletes perform at this enormously high level, and they can't jack it up every night, regardless of how gifted they are. They can go out there and get numbers that no one else can do and influence a game. But somewhere along the way, your will gets tested, because you just don't feel like that you can compete at that level every night as you get older. But as I say, I lost a brother in the war at 19 years of age, and to lose someone that I loved and admired, not easy.
Yeah, Jerry, we've just told that his daughter Gianna was on that plane with him.
I had heard that, Jimmy, unfortunately, and that's the one who you could always see him with in pictures. And my wife was just going through some pictures of me and my kids with him when he was a puppy. And, just think back those days, just carefree, happy, bright-eyed young man, or teenager. Frankly, I didn't even want to look at it.
Jerry, what's the life lesson? Because I know you always were teaching your players, no matter how many years they've been in the league. What's the life lesson to learn from the life of Kobe Bryant?
Hard work, dedication, beyond many, and this enormous desire to succeed.
You know, Amanda, I didn't know until Joey just told me coming off 18 green. I didn't really understand why the people in the gallery were saying doing it for Mamba, but now I understand. It's a shocker to everyone. Unbelievably sad, and one of the more tragic days that I think, well, for me, it's just, the reality is just kind of sitting in, because I was just told probably about 5 minutes ago.
You've been a Lakers fan your entire life. I know what Kobe meant to you. Joe LaCava says that you guys talk about him a lot on the golf course. What will you remember most about him as a player, but most importantly as a man and father?
The fire. He burned so competitively hot, and the desire to win. He brought it each and every night on both ends of the floor. I mean, not too many guys can say that throughout NBA history, that he'd lock up on D. Obviously, he was dominant on the offensive side, but anytime he was in the game, he'd take on their best player and shut him down for all 48 minutes. And that was one of the more impressive things, I think, throughout this entire career. And then, when he ruptured his Achilles and went to the foul line and made his shots, I mean, that's tough.
I'm just going to make a brief statement on behalf of the Nets organization, and we'd like to express our sincerest condolences to the Bryant family and everybody affected by the tragedy. As an organization, we're devastated. Our players are devastated. We have a player that was very close to Kobe. That's our thoughts and prayers are with him also. Just a tough time for the NBA, for all of us. But that's really all I have to say.
He was the standard for 20 years of, or maybe 15 years or so, of what a champion was.
Known as the Black Mamba, Bryant won 5 NBA championships, was the league MVP, an Olympic gold medalist, and an all-star 18 times in a 20-year career, all with the Lakers.
Those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination, it's the journey.
He was one of the first superstars who broke through in China as a symbol of the game that helped launch the NBA into the global sports enterprise it is today.
An incredibly, a brilliant man, and incredibly passionate about, our game.
Just hours before he died, Bryant sent a poignant congratulations to LeBron James as James passed his career scoring mark. Bryant tweeted, "Continuing to move the game forward, King James."